Hi guys, welcome back to our Dutch farmhouse. If you're new here, my name is Naomi and we live in an old farmhouse in the beautiful but currently very, very rainy countryside of the Netherlands. And if it's going to be rainy like this, which let's face it, we're in the Netherlands, it will be like this a lot. The very best thing I think you can do is make inside extra cozy. And I think last week's project, the wallpaper in the kitchen, has significantly contributed to this goal. It is Monday morning, and last night for me is when my last video went live. And then this morning, overnight, we have passed 5,000 subscribers, which is so incredibly exciting. I am so glad to have all of you here, and I'm having so much fun replying to all of your comments. I try to reply to all of your comments. I have to admit that it is getting a little bit more tricky now that I get quite a lot, which I am very, very happy about, and I do read all of them. So thank you so much for commenting and replying to my question, because what I asked you guys last week is what I should do about that corner. Do I continue the wallpaper around the corner here? And if I do I also do it around the fridge on the other side? And so many of you, I think 95% of you said, yes, absolutely, do it. Wallpaper everything. So that's definitely happening because I totally agree. I am loving this wallpaper a little bit more every day. And so yes, I think we should continue it, at least this little corner, maybe even the entire wall. I'm not going to do that today because I do have to order it, but there's also something that is more important that I want to get started on, and that is the trim around the door. So this silly white little border around the door is obviously not what I had in mind. I want to put the beautiful trim work around it that I've used upstairs as well, and I'm going to paint it blue. Now that sounds like an easy project, but I have made it a little bit more complicated for myself. You see, the trim work is a certain width, and it happens to be just a tiny bit wider than the space that I have here on the side of this cabinet, which is also why I didn't continue the wallpaper down there, is because I knew that there was going to be trim work there. But that means that I have to cut the trim work vertically for that first little bit there. And I don't have the tools for that. So let's see how that goes. Now, before we dive into working on that trim, which, by the way, I have been putting off for about a year now, I am cooking a very typically Dutch meal today. In Dutch, we say, liefde gaat door de maag. It directly translates to love goes through the stomach. It's our way of saying that a good meal can win someone's heart, and there's probably some truth to that, especially when you've got something simmering on the stove that smells like pure comfort and nostalgia. Now this dish, which is called Hachee, is a Dutch classic and something Stefan has been asking me to make for quite a while now. It's a fairly simple, hearty beef stew, the kind that Oma would make on a rainy fall day. Traditionally, it's served with mashed or cooked potatoes and red cabbage with a little bit of apple, which adds that sweet and savory balance to the dish. Now, I think every family probably has their own version of it, passed down through generations, but the basics always stay the same. Tender beef, lots of onions, some spices, and a couple of hours of thyme. I am using a chuck roast for this. I'm also making a double batch here, so this is for about 8 people, in case you were wondering why I'm tossing half a cow into the pot. The meat gets cut into chunks and then browned with salt and pepper and a bit of flour, which will give a nice crust on the outside, and it also helps thicken the sauce later. And then come the onions, a bazillion of them, which, let me tell you, I do not enjoy chopping onions. Tears were shed. Next time you're cutting the onions, Then I add some cloves, some bay leaves, a little bit of vinegar. I think rice vinegar is generally used. I also added a little bit of syrup. Now many people use what we call appelstroop, which I think is close to apple butter if you're in an English-speaking country. I didn't have that, so I used a little bit of normal syrup instead, and then substituted the vinegar for apple cider vinegar so that the fruity flavor is still there. And this is pretty much it. But then later I decided to add some fresh thyme to the pot to make it just a little bit extra special. Thyme goes with a lot of things, and I think besides rosemary, thyme is also a very fall flavor. And then I just added about 4 cups of broth, and then I let it simmer for at least 4 to 5 hours. The longer the better, really. Now I have a warming oven, so I can put it in the oven and then set it to like 80 or 85 degrees Celsius. So it will very, very slowly stew and not burn anywhere. Now if you don't have one, you can of course do it on a stovetop as well. Just make sure you put it on the teeniest, tiniest burner, and you stir every now and then so that the bottom doesn't burn. When I worked on the trim work upstairs in the hallway, there were a couple of spots where the trim work had to be thinner as well, just like I had to do here. And I remember I would cut it on the back side and it would be perfectly straight. And then when I turned it around, it was completely wobbly. There was no straight line to be seen. And I think that is because, you know, there is ridges and things in here, and the saw blade would just kind of find its way in between the grooves, and then it wouldn't be straight, it would be wobbly. Upstairs, that wasn't the biggest deal because I could hide it with caulk because it was all gonna be white. There was gonna be white trim with a white wall, and you could just fill it up with caulk and paint over it. Here, I think it requires a little bit more perfection. One, because it's very visible. It's something that you look at all day. And 2, because it is right next to that cabinet. I don't want to be painting over that cabinet. So the trim work is going to be blue, the cabinet's green. I'm going to have to somehow make a nice transition. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. So I thought the first step was probably just to cut that little piece as perfectly straight as I could. It's a little bit scary. Let's see how perfectly we can get it. Okay, it looks pretty straight. I have to say, it looks pretty good. Now let's just hope I did the measuring right, because this would not be the first time I would mess something like this up. Moment of truth, let's see. Okay, not bad. I think I did pretty good. The most amazing thing I think this wallpaper did for the kitchen was completely remove the impression that this was a brand new kitchen. It's something I've mentioned a couple of videos ago, that this kitchen felt completely brand new, which it is. It is a brand new kitchen, but that's not what I wanted it to feel like, because the rest of the house is not new, and that was bothering me a little bit. And that is completely gone, and I love it so, so very much. To measure and cut the trim pieces, I only attached it with one nail so that I could take them off very easily and then paint them while they're not on the wall, because I didn't really want to mess about with paint that close to that gorgeous wallpaper. It was going to be so much easier painting it while it wasn't on the wall yet. Now obviously the paint had to dry for about 5 hours before I could sand it and do another coat, and so this project spread out over the entire day. I also in the meantime painted the doorway itself, and then I could reattach the trim work to the wall after doing at least 2 coats of paint and after dinner. Folks,
Hey.
not for you.
An apple.
Yes. Now, even though I am filming a lot from this angle right now with the wallpaper, and it therefore kind of looks like I am now in a very dark house, it doesn't feel that way at all. It feels incredibly cozy in this particular corner of the kitchen, but the rest of the house is still very bright and airy, which you'll see if I am ever moving on from projects in the kitchen. Good morning. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's too in your face. It is too loud. It is, I can't figure out if it's the color or the shape or just the fact that it's quite chunky and there's already a lot happening on this wall, but it's too, it is grabbing all of the attention when the wallpaper should actually be doing that. And I don't like it. So I haven't actually finished it. I should do another layer, but I figured if I don't like it, then why put any more time into it? What's wrong with the color is that it's not exactly the same blue as the wallpaper, which it's really hard to match exactly the same color. And so I did a little test piece that you saw, and it looked really good then. So I figured it was all good. But then now that it's all on here, it is clear to me. I don't know if you can see it very well on camera, but to me it's clear that the trim now has a purple undertone and the wallpaper has a green undertone, which is probably why the wallpaper works so well with the green cabinets in the kitchen, is because there is a hint of green in there. And the trim doesn't have that now. It's very blue, and it looks like it doesn't belong. That's it. It looks like it doesn't belong. But there are moments in the day that the light hits just right and the color looks perfectly fine, and then I still don't like it, which leads me to believe that it's not the color per se, but the shape. I just think it's too much. I think it would look better with a little bit less detail, like just a little bit simpler of a trim. And that's really annoying because I was so proud of that corner there. I was so proud of how that turned out. So this is really annoying. And also, we have this trim upstairs, and we completely fell in love with that. It looks amazing upstairs. And so that's why we also always had the intention to do it downstairs as well. But there are a lot of doors and windows downstairs where this is not even going to work. So we might just have to accept that we're not going to be using the same trim downstairs as we do upstairs. But as I said, I can't really decide. I can't really decide what the problem is. Now, I know there are some interior designers amongst you, so please let me know what you think is, and what the problem is, and if there is even a problem in your eyes. Also, if you're not an interior designer, I still want to know, because I cannot, for the life of me, figure out what to do. I did only attach the trim with a couple of nails, so I can very easily take it all off without any damage to the wallpaper. The one tiny issue that I have with this idea is that if we take it off and I replace it with a smaller trim, a thinner one, then I'm going to have to continue the wallpaper down here just for a little sliver on the side of the cabinet. because I didn't do that because I knew that the trim was going to be there. So, but that's okay. I think I can make that pretty seamless. So disappointed. So I had kind of hoped that I could finish this entire wall this week up until the tiling. But this is going to slow things down a little because I really want to do this right. So I have to figure out what to do with this trim so that I can work on the little trim pieces that would go on the outside of the tiles because they are going to be the same color. And if it's the color, then, you know, I would be painting for nothing. So please let me know what to do. I am so lost. It could, of course, also be that I just have to get used to it and the problem is me. I mean, from a distance, it kind of looks okay again. Maybe I should just try a different color first before I take everything off. How am I supposed to make your bed? Huh? So I finished the sweater. I still have to block it, which if you're not a knitter, it just means that I have to soak it completely and then let it dry flat and it will kind of get its shape. And also it will tidy up all of the stitches. There's always some wobbly things going on in the stitching and that will just flatten it out. Might actually be able to show you the difference because if you remember from that same video where I talked about this sweater, this one needed some altering. The sleeves were way too long and way too wide. And so I altered them. I actually finished this last night, but I didn't block it because I have no patience for that. So you can see the difference. So this is blocked. You know, it's all straight lines. It's quite neatly done, although I am definitely not an expert at knitting, so this is not as perfect as some people would probably be able to get it. But this bit here is what I added. So you can see, maybe, that this is just a little bit more wobbly and loose. And if I block this, it will become the same as this. So I should just still do that, but I haven't yet. This is a lot more comfortable than the way it was earlier. By the way, that reminds me, I totally gave you the wrong name and pattern for this one. So I showed you this, I think 2 or 3 videos ago. And I mentioned that there is a video from the creator of this design that explains how to knit a sweater in a lot of detail. And it's a really good video to watch. And I still stand by my statement that that is the best way to start knitting sweaters. But that is the cinema sweater. This is not the cinema sweater. I totally messed that up. This is the late checkout sweater. So I will actually leave the link in the description of this video so that you have the right one. They are both beautiful, so it doesn't, and they actually are a little bit similar as well. So it's not a completely different pattern, but it's definitely not the same. So I will rectify that. I am sorry. But anyway, I finished this one, which is exciting. I also have a really exciting order coming in of a lot of wool, like a lot, because Stefan wanted me to knit him a sweater as well. And so I needed to get wool for that. But we wanted to try the real Finnish wool, which is, it's a specific sheep. So I ordered it from Finland. So it's coming in, I think, any day now. But I also got enough to make a sweater for myself again as well. So I really did get a lot of wool. I will show you as soon as it arrives. So right now I'm kind of just waiting for that. So I had a lot of leftover wool from this project. Don't ask me how that happened. I just got way too much. So I have started Ah! I've started on gloves for myself, which I will definitely need very soon because I get cold. So that is what's happening knitting wise. So I'm a little bit disappointed when it comes to the wall or the door trim situation. I really hope we can figure out what it is that is bugging me so much and how we can fix it. Or maybe I just need to get used to it. Anyway, next week I will be looking into tiles. So I'm going to visit a couple of tiling stores and hopefully we can find the perfect tile for behind the stove. I have also ordered another roll of wallpaper. So I am definitely going to wallpaper around that corner there, which I think is going to be really, really cool. For now, I am going to leave you. I want to thank you so much again for all of your input on the wallpaper issue. And I want to thank you for watching and I hope to see you next week. Bye guys.
Really?